Breaking news. What if I said to you the Nebraska Cornhuskers 5?
You are Locked On Huskers, your daily podcast on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey gang, DP here on a Saturday where we get to break it all down to you straight from Memorial Stadium. The Nebraska Cornhuskers are 5-3 with a 31-14 victory over Purdue in a cold one, and it was tough. Before we get into all the details of this thing, Mark Anwale, if you would please let them know about Athletic Brewing.
Thank you, DP. This episode of Locked On Huskers is brought to you by Athletic Brewing. Athletic Brewing Company has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. They're full of flavor. They're well-crafted, just like your favorite full-strength beers. Their brews are great tasting and award-winning and beat out full-strength beers in global competitions. They have over 50 styles of craft non-alcoholic beers, including all your favorites, IPAs, Goldens, sours. They even have hop seltzers. I tried the black cherry hop water seltzer. Super good, full of flavor. You're not missing anything with it. And the best part, no hangovers. Ever. You can find Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic brews at a store near you or buy online at athleticbrewing.com. And first-time customers can use the code LOCKEDON to get 15% off your first online order. That's code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON at checkout for 15% off at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer, exclusions and conditions apply. Athletic Brewing Company, fit for all times. DP, back to you.
Thank you, sir. And a lot of the news, oh my goodness, breathe in, that Husker Nation, if we said months ago, heading into summer camp even, or even the week before Minnesota, that, listen, heading into East Lansing for game number 9, the Huskers are going to be 5-3. Would you be happy and would you be satisfied? And those are legitimate questions. Over the course of this thing, in this episode specifically, I want to talk about the good things that happened. I want to celebrate a Nebraska victory. We'll get into all the things that need to be fixed, all the things that are of concern, all the greater questions that we still have. But today, this Saturday, right now, we're going to celebrate a 5-3 Nebraska team and all the things that were done well in said victory today over Purdue. Couple of things in the numbers that jump out to us. Of course, this game was set up with Nebraska being on a roll, Heinrich Haarberg being forward one at quarterback in his starts, Nebraska finding a way and being the defensive team that is. So I need to start with the defensive group because this was a defense-led effort. They set the tempo. They bailed out the offense in case and situation, and then the playmakers made plays. At the top of the list, and the things you have to talk about, is that Isaac Gifford put 10 total tackles on display, 2 of those for loss. Now, we were told in the summer that Isaac Gifford was playing at a different level and that he was accomplishing different things and that this 3-3-5 defense would give him some opportunity to specialize and highlight what he does. What this defense does better than any defensive group since in the 5 years that I've been in Lincoln, Nebraska, is put offensive players on the ground. This group tackles at such a high ferocity and effectiveness that it's impressive to watch, that it looks like that sometimes that there's a 12th defender on the field. No matter where teams are going, there's an extra Husker just laying there, wait to put a hat on. And with 10 total tackles, 4 solos, 2 tackles for loss, plus a broken up pass, Isaac Gifford gets the applause originally because on a day like today where you've got some fears in the run game, and then you're facing the number 4 passing game in the Big Ten Conference, that these defensive backs are going to have to put guys on the ground, make open field tackles, not get beat for yards after catch. And they were exceptional. John Bullock had 7 tackles, 5 of them solo. Phelan Sanford, who, again, when you talk about development of players, that if we said 3 months ago that Isaac Gifford, John Bullock, and Phelan Sanford are leading the Huskers in tackles in a meaningful late October game to help Nebraska get to their 5th win. Matter of fact, not help, but lead them in getting their 5th win. We would shake our heads a little bit because it wasn't what we expected. And kudos out loud to Tony White as the defensive coordinator and his ability to identify talent, develop said talent, teach said talent, and then get them to actually be effective on game day. There are a lot of coaches that will tell you, look, my scheme is my scheme. It's what I do. But to find somebody that can develop players into playmakers in the Big Ten Conference on either side of the ball, but on the defensive side of the ball, to be able to put this thing in play. Listen, 10 tackles for Gifford, 7 for Bullock, 6 for Phelan Sanford, 3 of those solo plus a half a tackle for a loss. And then to let us further know what they were doing defensively. Omar Brown, who, again, we start hearing about late in the summer, that he was having a time and he was moving, that his ability to tackle in open space, going downhill, he had 1.5 tackles for loss today, 4 tackles, 3 of those solo. To watch him, Quentin Newsome, making plays, of course, Quentin Newsome making a big play, the emergence and reemergence of Jamari Butler, getting sacks and getting tackles for loss. Nick Henrich and Luke Reimer, again, these were leaders. These were leaders of the team, not just the defense, but of the team. That Nick Henrich with 3 total tackles, Luke Reimer with 3 total tackles. He did get a tackle for loss, but they're not leading the way. They're leading the group, but they're not leading in the numbers. And look, you have to say to Tony White, listen, I'm not sure that you could plan things being the way that they currently are. But what's been done, this is a valuable defense in the Big Ten Conference. That Purdue, who a year ago put up 43 points against Nebraska, 43. Nebraska scored 37 points a year ago, and it wasn't enough to win. What Tony White has achieved in this period of time is so remarkably incredible, especially with the group of players that he has and the fact that he's expanding the depth chart, and he's actually including some folks, getting folks to move and contribute to this thing along the way. A couple of other things that normally Purdue would say, okay, Nebraska has had some 8-sack games. So what do you do? All right, we're going to put an extra person in the pass pro. Nebraska wasn't having that kind of success today, getting pressure on the quarterback, but they were confusing him, and they were making it difficult for them to throw into space. They made it difficult for them to get it going on the ground, and then, quite frankly, in open space. And this is a difference maker, that Nebraska in open field tackling, I can only recall, I want to think of, if I said there were 15, 20 plays where the secondary was under duress after the catch, where there could have been yards after catch because it was one-on-one, that Nebraska was victorious. And I would dare say 3/4 of the times where they were in open field and they needed to get Purdue to the ground, and they did so. That's just exceptional work. It's incredible work along the way. Kudos. Look, you can't argue about the late score, the late touchdown pass, and then the scoop and score against them. That's not really against the defense, so I'm not really worried about it. The Blackshirts allowed 1 touchdown, and on a day like today, the Big Ten Conference, that's a big deal. We'll throw the break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the offensive side of the ball. There were some big plays made. We'll talk about those when we come back to LOCKEDON. Hey, gang, DP here, and it is Victory Saturday. The Huskers figure out a way to get it done, 31-14 over Purdue. Before we get into the offensive talk, Mark Onwally, if you would, please, let the folks know about Gametime.
Thank you, DP. This episode of Locked On Huskers is brought to you by Gametime. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Their all-in prices show your total up front so you know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees, and you can buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find your last-minute seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. DP, back to you.
Thank you, sir. It's a lot. It's a lot to consume that we had a lot of questions. And then hopefully we were trying to find a lot of answers. And I'm not sure what answers we found in full. We did get some new assets to work from. Heinrich Harburg was 6 of 11 throwing the ball. He only threw the ball 11 times. 6 completions for 122 yards. Now, that's 20 yards a completion. That's a touchdown every 3 completions. Those are great numbers. Now, there's still some things to work on, but I'm going to give him credit for hitting the 2 big throws that he needed. One, again, an exceptional patience throw in open space to Thomas Fidone. I mean, listen, that is just being patient, allowing it to set up, allowing defenders to walk themselves out of the play, and then allowing your elitely athletic tight end to catch it and walk into the end zone. Bravo. But on the throw to Jalen Lloyd, he had to maneuver within on a cold and windy day in Lincoln, Nebraska. And again, there was some talk of snow and whether that was going to be an issue, or maybe it was going to be wet, but it was cold. It was cold and windy. And when you saw the play set up, great eyes by Harburg to kind of move defenders, and then just to see Jalen Lloyd take off. Well, he had dropped on the previous drive. And so there was some fear. And you see him breaking free, and then to see him hit turbo and get separation. And then the question was, can he lead him enough? And then can he make the play? Well, the answer to all of those was yes. Now, on a day where there were 6 passing game completions, Joshua Fleeks led the Huskers in receiving with 2 catches. Nobody on the field for Nebraska had more catches than Josh Fleeks, who had 2. 2 for 24 yards, average of 12 apiece. One of them was a 1-yard quick throw. The other one was for 22 yards. Fine and dandy. Jay Lone with a catch. Jaden Doss with a catch. Ty Hahn out on the perimeter as well. And nothing. I mean, nothing for Malachi Coleman. As a matter of fact, he only had 1 target. And that ended up in a penalty. So there's nothing to say there. Within the passing game, you did what you needed on a windy and cold day. Was it ideal? No. But we're beyond the point of asking the question, well, why isn't this better? Why isn't this better? It'll get better. It has to get better. The thing today, what today is for, is to celebrate. It is to celebrate. Celebrate the coaching staff, celebrate both coordinators, celebrate the coaching groups, celebrate the offensive line, Coach Raiola, and getting this offensive line to battle, for them to create some opportunities, for them to give Harburg time on the big throws and the 2 touchdowns to make plays. There's a lot in play. But there were 6 completions today. And that is the thing to circle going forward, that those numbers have to change. Now, from the running game side, I just want to dive in that Emmett Johnson's 28-yard run at the end of the game gives me more calm and confidence because that was just good blocking, and then he planted the foot and he gets to bang his head on the goalpost. What we have to pay attention to is the ability to make big plays when it's there. Playmakers need to make plays. Now the number, and this is what happens now that you get a playbook on Heinrich Haarberg, teams are going to know how to defend him. And let me tell you, he took some shots today. He took some big hits today. And, in game management, those are things you have to talk about. You don't want QB1 taking those kind of hits. He had 19 carries, 19 attempts today for 22 yards. Those are not the Heinrich Haarberg numbers that we've become accustomed to. But give credit to Purdue defensively for, one, coming up and putting shoulders and hats into them. Like, listen, if you're going to be the guy, quarterback, we don't care how big you are, how fast you are. But if you're going to keep the ball, we got to make you pay. There's a toll for it. Emmett Johnson was 13 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown, of course, the long 28. Anthony Grant with 6 carries today. I don't want to spend today getting into that side of it, but here's the thing. 48 carries, 155 yards, just over 3 yards a carry. And if you do that and you win, that's good enough. It's absolutely good enough. And we can say it on the other side that Purdue had 29 carries for 96 yards, 3.3 yards a carry, no touchdowns. And for everything that happened today, when you go up and down the stat sheet, and I want to be clear with this, that what we've asked of this coaching staff is just to figure out a way to finish games. They talked as the season began that it was far more important for this team to learn how to play well at the end of the game than at the beginning of the game. I'm not sure that was accomplished, but listen, finishing football games is the toughest thing to do in all of sports, and Nebraska has figured out a way. They sit at 5-3. It hasn't. Look, recent Nebraska history isn't one where we can talk about all the games where Nebraska figured out how to finish ball games. Matter of fact, we're trying to get to games where Nebraska was actually in the games or ahead late in games. And we certainly are having an interesting discussion today. Again, Nebraska's sitting after playing in a meaningful Big Ten game in late October. They will head into November with a 5-3 record and an opportunity to become bowl eligible with a win in East Lansing, Michigan. Listen, I'm for the day itself. Just if again, Husker fans, if we had said in mid-August that Nebraska is going to be sitting at 5-3 heading into to Michigan State, we would all applaud, celebrate, and be looking forward. So I ask that we do that today. That we applaud, stand up, cheer, and look forward. Great opportunity. We'll get into the special teams and the things that happen there, and then to set up next week as we head into Michigan State week. All of that here on Locked On Huskers. Hey, gang, it is Victory Saturday. Hit the V. It's interesting in my head that I've had the conversation, well, what would it be like to be in Lincoln when this team is winning, when it's playing well enough to win games and finish games? And a big part of that is questioning the defensive front, okay, the defensive line. Great play, great space-eating day. Purdue made a point to double at the point of attack, but that also took somebody out of the blocking scheme and allowed Nebraska's linebackers and playmakers to make plays. And then on the offensive side, with 3 new starters this week, that you got through. You were successful. You got through. You got through the game. Ben Scott and his play calling, identifying pass pro, also identifying slants, because Purdue was doing some tricky things up front. To watch what Troy Walters was trying to do against Nebraska and put in an extra body, having spies and scouts on Heinrich Haarberg, And then putting hats on people. Look, this was an aggressive physical game. Nebraska took some shots today. They took some big hits. But to see that Nebraska's offensive line and defensive lines did enough for Nebraska to win, and then to go through and say, well, wait a minute. Were there special teams plays? And yes, there were some hiccups on special teams. There were indeed. But Nebraska put points on the board. Look, Brian Bershini was average, had 5 punts for 45 and a half yards. 2 inside the 20, 2 over 50 yards. Yes, there was a fumble on the opening kickoff, kick return. That was not a playmaker with the ball in his hands, and those are things that happen. But when we talk about the numbers and what happened to have interceptions take place, to have Tommy Hill have the day that he had, and then listen, to score points on the scoop and go, wonderful, right? And to watch the celebration, Quentin Newsom on the celebration, and watching the special teams rally around him was important. But there was a small, big thing that happened today on the special teams, and to have a true freshman kicker get the type of applause, the opportunity and the applause that he got today. And at the time, it didn't seem like a big deal. But I think going forward, it's a huge deal. Because Tristan Alvaro has had an up and down season as a true freshman, and that's usually the case. But in this case, on a tricky day, on a windy, cold and windy day, the football does funny things. I mean, the snap can be off, the hold can be off, and the wind, because there is a different kind of wind happening at Memorial Stadium today. But Matt Rule, and look, this opportunity that he gave Tristan Alvaro to feel good about himself, to have the fan base feel good about him, to have the opportunity where the fans can see the power of the young man. Listen, everybody saw, most of the folks here saw Tristan Alvaro last year win a title with his foot and his leg. But moving up to Nebraska and in the Big Ten Conference, there's a lot to it. Well, today, he was put in a position and given the opportunity to knock down a 55-yard field goal. And to have him do so allowed him to hear the crowd in full, for him to feel the love from his teammates and the respect. 55 yards, that will come in handy. It will pay off in spades. Congratulations, young man. That was a big kick and a big day for you, a big moment. Hopefully, you circle it, mark it, and move forward it up from there. Again, Nebraska finds a way to go 1-0 today. They improve to 5-3 and are in pretty good position in the Big Ten West, because Iowa and Wisconsin are still on the schedule going forward, and you can finish that. But they will lock steady and get focused on East Lansing, Michigan, 11 o'clock kickoff next week against 2-6 Michigan State. Another big opportunity and another big day for Husker Nation. Thank you for making Locked On Huskers your first watch and listen. After the game, we appreciate you hanging out. Leave your comments down there. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I'll be back on Monday to break down Michigan State week. We'll go through everything, talk about all the numbers, and set ourselves up for win number 6 by going 1-0 against Michigan State. We'll close with the 3 words we heard a lot today, and we love them. Go Big Red.